Hi everybody. Last weekend was the record show here in town, and I went in with, I had $90 to spend. That was kind of my budget, which is more than I spent last time. But I saved up some money. It was my birthday just a week or so ago, a week and a half. And I wanted to kind of treat myself. I'm starting a new job and I'll have to work weekends, so I probably won't be able to hit like the Friends of the Library sale or the next record sale coming up in, I guess, about 6 months, which is on a Saturday or Sunday, unless I arrange to get the time off. So wanted to kind of go big this time, and did pretty well. And then I hit a booth. I was down to my last $9, and hit this vendor's table, and on the floor he had some boxes of $2 records. And as I'm flipping through, I'm finding a bunch of like Verve and Roulette, great old jazz stuff, pretty good shape for $2. And I found a bunch. I found 16, and so I broke my budget. I went down the street to the ATM, got another $40, came back, bought those records, and bought a few more since I had some money left over. But all in all, I think I spent 125 and bought 42 records, so came out to about $3 a record, which isn't bad. Found a lot of really cool old jazz. That's kind of what I've been just into lately. What I've been craving. Haven't really been craving looking for any kind of rock or anything lately. Maybe I'll get back into that in a while, but this is going to be all jazz. So if you're not into jazz, especially older jazz from like the mid 50s to say mid 60s, you're probably not going to like this video. It's going to be all just classic jazz. So here we go. I may do this in two videos just to try to keep the time from going way too long here. So jumping into it, I'm going to start with 10-inch records. I ended up buying, I think, about 5 records, 5 10-inch records. I really like the format. Unfortunately, I tend to find the records are really tight in the sleeves, and a lot of times they seem pretty beat up. But they're just kind of cool to have, even if they're scuffed up and don't sound that great. First up, from the guitarist Chuck Wayne. This is the Chuck Wayne Quintet on the Progressive Records label. I'd never seen this one before, but he's got some excellent players. Brew Moore on tenor sax. He did some stuff on Fantasy Records, I know. Zoot Sims, tenor sax. George Duvivier, bass. Ed Shaughnessy, drums. Cool label. Like I said, I've never seen this Progressive label before. This one is actually pretty beat up, and I don't know if it's going to be much of a player, but kind of cool. Yeah, I think that was like $2 or something. A Pacific Jazz 10-inch, Lee Konitz and the Jerry Mulligan Quartet. A couple great sax players there. Yeah, I can't read in the back. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't really see who else played in the band in Mulligan's quartet at the time. But yeah, this one on Pacific Jazz. Dave Brubeck Quartet, a very early Fantasy 10-inch record, 10-inch LP. So of course you got Paul Desmond, the band, and can't see who his rhythm section was. But this one is one of the Fantasy red vinyl releases. They put a lot of stuff out in red vinyl. I've also seen, like, I think green and purple vinyl, maybe even blue from Fantasy back in the 50s, so pretty interesting stuff. One on Prestige. This is the Billy Taylor Trio. Billy Taylor on piano. Can't see who else is in the band. But yeah, on the early Prestige Fireworks label, but it's not the black and yellow Fireworks. It's red and silver, or kind of maroon and silver. So I thought that was pretty cool. This is Prestige LP 194. And then finally, the King Cole Trio, Volume 3 on Capitol. So that's, of course, Nat King Cole on piano, and I think guitar and drums, maybe? Can't remember. Yeah, but on Capitol, on the purple Capitol label there. So yeah, 10-inch records. They're just kind of neat. I don't know, cool to look at. Hopefully they'll clean up and play pretty well. Alright, sorry for the quick jump there. My cat just tore through the room here, knocked a bunch of stuff off my desk, trying to get to the window in the room here, and I don't know what the deal is, but sorry about that. Some stuff on the Jazztone label. Jazztone was a label that put out, sent records through the mail. I guess you signed up kind of a subscription, or you ordered them, and they sent them through the mail. But they reissued a lot of interesting stuff from different labels. A lot of times the records would be like half from one 10-inch from Pacific Jazz, half another 10-inch, different labels, Fantasy, Pacific Jazz, things like that. But here's one, the best of Brubeck, trios, quartets, and octets. Some really cool art there. That's kind of generic art. I'll show another one. It's got the same artwork, different artists. So yeah, the best of Brubeck. On the back it lists the different Fantasy 12-inch LPs these tracks are taken from. So a nice little compilation. I think these all came from a booth. Guy had, I keep saying booth. Vendor. On the floor he had a box, and the records were all two for $1. So these are 50 cents a piece, which is really cool. Because I hardly see these Jazztone records. I want to say back in the early 90s, I lived down near St. Petersburg, Florida, where there's a lot of older people. And the thrift stores there, I want to say I saw a lot of these Jazztone records back in the day before I was really into jazz, and just never picked them up, and I wish I had. Here's one, East Coast Sounds. So it's got the same artwork. The Billy Byers, Joe Newman Sextet. So you got Billy Byers trombone, Joe Newman trumpet, and then the Eddie Burt Sextet on the flip side. They got kind of one of the classic New York rhythm sections on either of these. Hank Jones on piano, Milt Hinton on bass, O.C. Johnson on drums. But these are really nice. They list the personnel actually on the label on each side. So that's pretty cool. And then finally, or a couple more. Here's one with kind of more of the typical, I'd say typical Jazztone cover art. This one's called Combo Jazz. And this one, you see, it's just kind of like a little flimsy envelope. The others were more typical cardboard record sleeves. So here you got the Coleman Hawkins All-Stars on one side, and on the flip side you got Buck Clayton Quintet and Woody Herman's Woodchoppers. Pretty nice. And then one that was obviously a library copy called Delightfully Modern. And so on one side it's the Chico Hamilton Quintet, and then the other side is Laurindo Almeida Quartet. Laurindo Almeida was a guitar player, and his quartet, these are both kind of West Coast jazz. Chico Hamilton Quintet had Buddy Collette on flute and clarinet, Fred Katz on cello, Jim Hall guitar, Carson Smith bass, and Laurindo Almeida Quartet had Bud Shank alto sax, Harry Babison bass, and Roy Hart drums. So a couple of 10 inches, I believe, off of Pacific Jazz. Tracks taken off those and on here. So that's it for the Jazztones. Like I said, I think those are all 50 cents, so great deal on those. And then this one I'm pretty sure was in the another, like I said, I was down to my last $9 and I found this guy. He had on the floor under his table. And he had a couple up on top of the table, I think, boxes for $2 each. And you know, I should know, you should always start out with the cheap stuff. Start out with the $1 and $2 boxes and go through those, and then go through the higher priced records, because you get a lot more bang for your buck. And I find with jazz records here in town, there's not a whole lot of people, I think, that are really into jazz here in town. They're mostly looking for like classic rock, progressive rock, krautrock, indie rock, more experimental music, things like that. So not a whole lot of people into jazz. So stuff isn't really that picked over. You know, there's all kinds of jazz stuff left for me. So here's a collection from the Jazz at the Philharmonic series that Norman Granz put together. This is volume 7, or new volume 7. It says formerly volumes 12 and 13, so those would have been either like 10-inch records or 78s maybe. Probably 78s, I guess. No, maybe 10-inch records. I think it's 4 long tracks, and among the personnel you've got Charlie Parker and Lester Young on sax, Flip Phillips, I think on clarinet, Roy Eldridge, is he trumpet? Trombone. Buddy Rich drums, Ray Brown bass, Tommy Turk, Hank Jones piano. So I got the classic track Lester Leaps In. Nice David Stone Martin cover art there, like you typically saw on like Verve records back in the day. Verve, Clef, Nordgren. Some nice photos of the guys in the back. So yeah, really nice. This one's on Clef, one of Granz's labels before Verve Records. He had Clef and Nordgren. And then later Pablo after Verve. And then some good old classic jazz here from one of the big names himself, Louis Armstrong, Sings the Blues. This one on RCA Victor, compilation of tracks from 1933 to 1947. Pretty cool to get some of the older Louis Armstrong recordings here. You know, not in perfect shape. Obviously, looks kind of like duct tape. Someone taped it up, but you know, it's holding together. Yeah. But I think that one's $2. Most of these are going to be from the $2 bin. Next up, I think I've already got this on record, but this one might be a slight upgrade. Ella Fitzgerald sings the Gershwin songbook. She did a series of these records doing different songbooks. Gershwin, you know, the different Rodgers and Hammerstein, Cole Porter, I think. A lot of different kind of Broadway composers. Lullabies of Birdland on Decca, this one. Another Ella Fitzgerald. And then a series of roulette recordings from the $2 bin here. You got Basie, One More Time, Count Basie. And here he's doing music from the pen of Quincy Jones. So way before he was involved with Thriller, big in the jazz scene. This one just, a lot of people call this atomic Basie. It just says Basie on the front, but on the bottom, E equals MC squared equals Count Basie Orchestra plus Neal Hefti arrangements. So I think a lot of people just call this atomic Basie. And I think this is his first record he did with Neal Hefti, who was the guy behind the Batman theme, I believe. And then here's another one with Neal Hefti. Basie Plays Hefti. Another one on roulette. So you see the two guys kind of clowning around there. And another Count Basie, this one on Verve, on the Verve Clef series. Basie Roars Again. Let's take a look at this label on this one. Yeah, kind of interesting. I'm not sure why it's yellow and black. Obviously an early Verve record there. And 1 O'Clock Jump on Columbia by Count Basie. I'm guessing this one's going to be a 6i. Yeah, 6i pressing. And let's see. So this one on one of Norman Granz's early labels, Clef, the actual Clef label. This is Art Tatum number 3. So I guess Norman had brought Art Tatum in the studio and wanted to document him playing some of his solos and did a series of those. So again, you've got the David Stone Martin cover art. Kind of weird pen and ink, abstract, slightly abstract artwork there. So this is the Genius of Art Tatum number 3. And like I said, it's on the Clef label. Somebody's got their... This one definitely needs some cleaning. It's got a little... Looks almost like mold in the grooves there. So I definitely need a really good cleaning on this. Okay, next up, an early Verve here. Another piano player, Oscar Peterson, plays the Cole Porter songbook. So obviously a lot of these jazz guys are playing kind of Broadway show tunes. Those are the standards of the day. For stereo pressing here, let's take a look. Yeah, it's got the groovy, I like this Verve Stereophonic label there. Always like that. And another one from Oscar Peterson. This is Oscar Peterson with Strings in a Romantic Mood. And I think this is on the Verve, something popular, something label variation. So it's a red label with the yellow kind of T. A little different than what you normally see for a Verve label. And another piano player. This one, Ramsey Lewis. Normally see his stuff on like Argo or Cadet. This is on Mercury. It's a Mercury stereo pressing. Down to Earth. The Ramsey Lewis Trio plays music from the soil. So I'm not sure if that was a movie, a film, not quite sure. Yeah, interesting. I've got a lot of Ramsey Lewis stuff. So let's see how we're doing on time. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this one up here, just to keep it kind of short. Thanks for watching. I'll do another video, which is going to be more kind of the sax players, horn players, yeah. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 of the record show finds.